Hey guys, how's it going? So just to catch you up. So on the last one, managed to get a very basic target actor set up with a target reticle. So we can now switch in and out of the build mode. We've got the menu being dynamically created, and we've got a very basic targeting that just uses a ground trace basically. So very rudimentary for now. We'll flesh it out later, but it's good enough for what we need right now. So the plan for today is to attempt to actually add the functionality for when the button is pressed and the player selects an item, and it's going to be the bridge between the UI and the buildability. So we take a look at this. So we've got the build widget, which is the main UI. Then we've got the actual entries, which is the individual buttons that are listed for each item. So they're going to need to call a method on the build widget, as the build widget has a pointer to the buildability and vice versa. And that will look something like request update selection, and it will pass along the data asset that's associated with that button. The build widget will then fire a delegate. So for example, on build selection update, passing on that data asset. Then that's the main job of the build widget. Then the buildability needs to subscribe to that delegate that the widget has fired, taking in that data asset. Then it's going to store a pointer to that data asset, so it knows what to actually build when we get to that point. But what we're trying to do today is preview. So it's going to pass that data asset down to the target actor, which is then going to pass to the target reticle, and the target reticle is going to decide how to preview. In most situations it's going to be like a preview mesh, but we are going to need to deal with different types of placements, such as drawing out a road. So it's going to be a basic system for now, but we're going to start putting things in place so later on, when it's a bit more complicated, we've got that going. We already have on the data asset placement types set up, and this is what we're going to be using to switch in the buildability, the target reticle. Use that to switch the preview mode. So for example, if it's plot placement, we will just preview a normal static mesh. But if it's drag or multi-point, it might be like a preview spline, for example, or preview points. So we need to know that. So there's a few steps we need to take. So we need to add preview mesh to the build data asset, which is this data asset here. So this is going to be a pointer to a static mesh, which is going to be selectable in the editor. And we need to set up the delegate. So this is going to be the delegate that gets fired by the build widget, which the buttons are going to call. Then we need to create the method on the build widget that the buttons can call. Okay, so we need the method such as request update selection. Then that should be, so we need to subscribe the buildability to the delegate, so it needs to receive those events. Create methods on the target actor and reticle to receive the updated data asset. Yep, so those are going to be the methods where the buildability passes on the data asset down to the target actor and the target reticle. And the target reticle is going to actually act on that data asset. And the target actor switches on the e-build placement type. And generally update a preview mesh. Cool. So that's the kind of steps we need to take. I'm just going to keep that on my screen. Okay. So let's add the preview mesh here. So we need a pointer to that. Need to make it U property. Edit defaults only. And duplicate. That should be fine. Let's just check that. Okay. So now if we take a look at the data assets, we can now select a static mesh. So let's just go through do that. Oh. Could be, yeah. Okay, cool. So so that was easy. Set up the delegate. All right. So in our build widget, yeah, we'll set up the delegate here. Just find some reference. Okay, I'll just use this as a bit of a reference. So this is going to be called build selection update. F1 build selection update. And it's going to need, so we've got this here. Pointer. Does it be firing this when the build widget receives the button inputs. Let's just make sure that builds. So what we're going to want is a function can't take children. Okay, so we'll just change this to a normal pointer. That should be fine. Cool. So we need a function that the buttons can call in blueprints on this build widget. So, it needs to take in the data asset. Need to be function blueprint. And all this is going to do is broadcast this. Go to our widgets. Build item entry. So this is the individual buttons that are added for each item. And they have this available to them. And they also have that available to them. That's the build widget. We call it request update build selection. Okay. So that should give us some feedback. There we go. Cool. All right. Great. So this part is pretty much done. So the build item entry is calling the request update selection, and we're broadcasting the delegate in here. So what we need to do next is in the buildability, we need to subscribe to that delegate. And we should have, yeah, so we already have this method here. So this would be a good place to subscribe to that. Check that valid. Then we want to first create a method down here. Here, so probably just call it build selection updated. Right. And just keep consistent. Needs to be property. And a new function. Now we need to actually make this and subscribe to it. Here. And buildability. Build substitute. This needs to be Except for that. So when the build widget fires this delegate, this build ability should be subscribed to it, and this should be called channel. Enough. Okay, cool. So now the buildability is receiving a data asset. Alright, get that. So buildability is receiving that delegate. So we're now going to store that. So we'll call its own set selected item, and then we'll call a method on the target actor. And the target actor will call the methods on the target reticle. We've got it stored here. And I don't think we're going to need a whole method just for that. Take that. Then need the target actor. Okay. So we haven't actually written the method yet, so we need to do that first. And we'll just copy this, call it the same. We'll just pass it. We need to forward declare this. Include it. Two. And the buildability can now call that. We should be able to just pass that in. Okay. So now we just need that on the target reticle. Okay. Now the target actor can call that. Okay, right. So, a build target reticle. Probably just ditch that because it should be okay. Yeah, because cast, as far as I'm aware of, the thing you're putting in is not valid. It will just return not pointer. Then we can finally pull that left. See if that's working. Yep, cool. Sweet. Okay. Let's clean up some of these debug messages. So we now have gone from here with the build item entry, and we've finally made our way to the reticle actor. So the reticle actor is now going to switch on the build type, and then we're going to get the preview mesh and update that. So switch on the data asset build mode. Then now it's football. Set the static bash. Get out of the data asset. Okay, so we've got pre-mesh component. And that's what's actually going to take the mesh. We want to store a pointer to the data asset. So that's what we should do first. Let's just change this name. And check that it's valid. So we're taking in the new data asset, checking that it is valid. Then we'll get the build mode from it. Let's just take a look. Placement type. Okay. Okay. So that is this enum here. So we've got plot placement, drag placement, multi-point. So the basic is going to be the plot placement. It's just for simple single items that are just going to be plopped in the world. Drag placement will be stuff like roads, rails, anything that's going to drag and drop. And similarly, the multi-point placement might be that as well. So something like in city skylines where you mark some points to make a curve. Okay. So now we'll switch on that. Okay, see build. Keep it in the same order for now. Okay. Okay. Then we need the 3 different functions to actually handle those. Handle. So these will be added to that switch statement. What we'll do, just to test that this is working, we'll go into the editor. The items that we've got, I'll set them as different placement modes and just make sure we're getting the relevant method being called. And then actually call that here. Okie dokie. So we get the build selection update, check it's valid, get its placement type, then switch on the placement type, and then one of these methods will be called. Let's just test that. Okay, so build items, that's plot. Let's do drag. What do you want? Yeah, plot, drag, multiply. Cool, sweet. So now when we press the button, it sends the data asset to the build widget, so the main actual widget. The build widget fires the delegate. The build ability receives the delegate, and it passes that data asset down to the target actor, which then passes it on to the target reticle. Cool, so we're getting pretty close. That's working nicely. So what I'd like to get done today is try and at least do handling the plot preview. So we need to get the preview mesh from the data asset. Then we need to set the preview mesh component to that, and that should be fine. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much all that needs to happen. We'll probably have to deal with collision, but we'll just check that the mesh is coming up. So what are we doing? Get the preview mesh from the data asset. and then heavy mesh component. Set static mesh. And in theory, that's what we should actually need. So I think I already, yeah, just put some dummy ones in there. Let's see. Yeah. Oh yeah. Always. Oh yeah. There we go. Cool. Sweet. Alright. And it I must have already dealt with. Okay, we'll deal with the collisions. But cool, that seems to be working correctly. Let's just see what these are. Change these to something different. No, it's not. Not where that is. Because they're different placement types, that's why. So we're not actually handling those yet. So I change these to store plot. That should be okay. So that. Cool. Sweet. Alright, so final part then. Now let's try to, I'll worry about handling these later, but let's try and actually spawn those items now. So in our buildability, so we have the selected build item data asset, which we are storing when we receive the selection update. Okay. We're also receiving inputs here. Okay, so so this is going to be our entry point basically when the build button's released, at least for now, because they've got it hooked up, so we're taking in the press down and press up, so we're recording drag placements. So do like that. So we've already got the transform we need. Let's close that. That's valid. Just ignore it if so. And then we'll switch on the build time, placement time. Here, so we want to get the parent class now. To get the default object. So what we're trying to do is from the data asset, we want to spawn this. And we're probably going to want to pass in the data asset. So that's going to oh no, on there. Yeah, on here. Don't really want to expose on spawn. To be read only. Really what we want is that. Then we can do so. Yeah, that should be fine. And what we'll probably want is this to be virtual. Because depending on what type of item it actually is, it's going to handle that data asset differently. So it's likely that that's going to be overridden. Okay, so okay. So it's T subclass of this one should be fine. So we want to pass it with transfer. And should be storing that. Then check it's valid. And then pass the data set. So this should be spawning the parent class into the world. But it may not actually display anything because we need to handle the data ourselves. So we'll do just so we can see it. Do that. visible in game. Then yeah, we should be able to form this now. When we press the key. No. So get to here. Just make sure we're getting to this point. Select an item. Press the build key. Yeah. I see. Right, yeah. We haven't actually we want the class that's in class. Yeah. So now we should be spawning the class that's actually listed in the data asset. Yeah, cool. There we go. Cool. Just turn off. Key. Cool. So obviously it's not actually doing anything at the moment other than just spawning the empty object into the world. What actually needs to happen next is the spawned actor needs to take the data asset and actually do something with it. That's pretty good. That's kind of what I was hoping to get done today. Cool. So those now exist in the world. You can see them there, but we can also see them. Yeah, so it's all the class that was put into the data asset. And it should have been given this data asset. So then when it spawns, we can then override what happens when it receives that data asset, such as set the stack mesh. Cool. I might try to do that quickly before I finish. Or could just for now. Actually, no, that's fine. So yeah, I'll leave it there for now. So probably next time we'll set up handling processing the data asset. So when the build item is actually spawned, it deals with that. and then might start implementing the drag system, but probably not. Leave that till a little bit later. But we've got the framework there ready when we do want to do that. And yeah, just getting there. So just slowly chipping away at it, bit by bit. Keep planning it out. So notes, lots of notes and stuff. But just spend some time before each session. Just make sure to have a good understanding of how stuff works. Just makes it go a lot easier. Cool. Alrighty. So see you next time.